Your story doesn't add up, ma'am. The judge's words sliced through the hushed courtroom like a blade. The widow's hands trembled on the wooden stand as her late husband's medals gleamed faintly in the evidence box beside her. She had fought for months, pleading for her rightful survivor's benefits, but the man in the black robe leaned back with skepticism. His voice carried a tone of dismissal. People come here with tales all the time. I need proof, real proof, that your husband served with honor. Before we move further into this story, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear. Let's dive in. Gasps stirred in the audience seats. The woman's face crumpled, tears slipping down her cheeks. Her husband had given his life overseas, yet here she was, treated like a fraud. The opposing attorney smirked smugly, papers stacked neatly on the table, confident that the case was slipping through her fingers. "But, Your Honor," she whispered, her voice breaking, "my husband was a sentinel. He guarded the tomb of the unknown soldier. He lived every day with discipline and pride." The judge cut her off with a wave of his hand. "Sentimental stories don't hold up in my courtroom. Do you have witnesses? Records?" His impatience dripped into every syllable. To him, she was just another claimant trying to squeeze money from the system. The widow clutched a folded flag in her lap, the same one handed to her at her husband's funeral. She remembered that day like a wound carved into her soul. The 21-gun salute, the silence broken only by a bugle. He had been more than a soldier. He was her husband, her protector, the father of their little boy who now sat quietly in the pew, clutching his teddy bear. But no paperwork could capture that. No file could scream the truth of his sacrifice. The judge sighed heavily. "Without solid testimony, I see no reason to drag this hearing any further. I'll make my ruling." And then the doors opened. Every head in the courtroom turned. In marched a line of honor guards, their crisp blue uniforms flawless, medals glinting beneath the lights. Their boots struck the floor in perfect rhythm, the sound commanding silence and reverence. At their lead carried a polished rifle, presented in solemn dignity. The widow gasped. She recognized them. These were her husband's brothers in arms, men who had stood shoulder to shoulder with him through countless nights of vigil at the tomb. They moved as one, their presence like a storm of discipline sweeping into the room. The judge's gavel froze mid-air. His eyes widened as the guards halted before the bench. Without a word, their captain stepped forward, saluted sharply, and spoke. His voice thundered with unwavering conviction. "Your Honor, this widow does not beg for sympathy. She asks for justice. Her husband was Sergeant Daniel Cole, sentinel of the tomb of the unknown soldier. I served with him. I watched him walk the mat in blistering heat and freezing rain. I saw him stand unflinching through storms, refusing to break his watch because he believed no fallen hero deserved to be forgotten." He held up a journal, worn but carefully preserved. This was his, every shift, every step, every oath recorded. His sacrifice is not a story, it is truth, written in duty and sealed in blood. The widow covered her mouth as tears streamed down her cheeks. Even the hardened attorney looked pale, his confidence shaken by the force of living testimony standing in flesh before them. The captain placed the journal on the judge's bench. Then, with a glance to his men, he gave a command. In perfect unison, the honor guard raised their hands in salute, every motion sharp, every face carved with solemn respect. The courtroom fell into reverent silence. Even those who had doubted now felt the weight of something greater than paperwork. The undeniable presence of brotherhood, sacrifice, and honor. The judge's voice, once filled with arrogance, now cracked with humility. I had no idea." His gaze dropped, ashamed of his earlier dismissal. He cleared his throat, his tone trembling. "Mrs. Cole, on behalf of this court, I offer my deepest apology, and my ruling is in your favor." The widow clutched the folded flag tighter, whispering, "Thank you, Daniel," as if her husband could hear. Her little boy leaned against her side, eyes wide as he watched the soldiers who had loved his father as much as she had. The honor guard turned sharply, their boots echoing once more as they marched out, leaving behind not just evidence but a lesson burned into every witness's heart. Sacrifice needs no embellishment, and honor needs no defense. The judge sat still, shaken, staring at the journal left on his desk. He had doubted her, but in the end, it wasn't her words that proved her right. It was the living presence of those who carried her husband's spirit within them. As the widow walked out, the crowd in the courtroom rose to their feet in applause, not just for her victory, but for the man who gave everything and the soldiers who stood to honor him. And the moral was clear: never doubt the silent strength of sacrifice, because honor does not fade, and truth will always march in. If this story touched you, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let us know how you feel in the comments.